Karauli in Rajasthan is tense. The curfew there has been extended for another 3 days. Let me tell you why. A bike rally to mark the Hindu New Year was taken out through a Muslim-dominated area of Karauli on Saturday when it was pelted with stones, leading to arson and riots. 13 people have been arrested so far, but for the Chief Minister of Rajasthan, it's not his problem, because Mr. Gehlot has now come out and blamed Prime Minister Modi for emboldening a culture of polarization. Listen in to Ashok Gehlot, Chief Minister of Rajasthan.
अब ये जो जाति धर्म के नाम पर रंग दे देते हैं, दो व्यक्ति को भी भेज सकते हैं, मर्डर हो गया। अगर धर्म अलग अलग है दोनों का, तो फिर धर्म के नाम पे लोग ध्रुवीकरण करके फिर उसको इश्यू बनाते हैं। नौजवानों में बहुत बड़ी छटपटाहट है पूरे देश के अंदर। ये तमाम समस्या तब आती जब आप जो आपकी अप्रोच है गवर्नेंस करने की, उस पर आपका ध्यान जाता नहीं है और आप खाली परसेप्शन पैदा करके राजनीति करते हैं।
ये आग लगाने के लिए आते हैं, पूरे देश में आग लगा रहे हैं, आग लग गई। ये ऐसा माहौल बना रहे हैं। आपको मैं कहना चाहूँगा, संविधान की धज्जियाँ उड़ा रहे हैं। लोग तो यकीन में बार बार कह रहा हूँ, हिंदू मुस्लिम कर दिया देश के अंदर। आप कल्पना कीजिए, आज तो हिंदुत्व के नाम पे हम सब गर्व करते, हम हिंदू नहीं है क्या? हिंदू कौन नहीं है? हिंदू होने का हमें गर्व है। प्रधानमंत्री को चाहिए आगे आगे नेशन को संबोधित करे, कंडेम करे वो हिंसा को, चाहे हिंसा किसी के पक्ष के द्वारा हो। आज सबसे बड़ी जिम्मेवारी किसी के देश में है तो प्राइम मिनिस्टर की है, अमित शाह जी की है। वो देश में शांति स्थापित करने की अपील करे, वो कहें हम हिंसा को बर्दाश्त नहीं करेंगे।
Now here's why the Congress Chief Minister cannot shirk away his responsibility. Not only did the state government and the local administration fail to have any preventive measures despite a radical group warning against such a flare-up. Now it turns out there is a Congress link to the entire saga as well. Matloob Ahmed, a councillor backing the Congress government, has now been booked for inciting hate and attempt to murder. Matloob Ahmed has been on the run since the attack, and questions have been asked of the police for dragging its feet on apprehending him. The Congress-led state government has a lot of explaining to do. So the question I want to ask of Mr. Gehlot and the Congress party tonight: is there a free run to rioters under the Congress party? That's the question and the debate coming up on the other side. Hashtag Karauli Riot Twist. The debate coming up.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 2 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
And joining the debate is Ashutosh Mishra, senior journalist. Of course, Gaurav Bhatia, Ishkaran Bhandari and advocate Kapil Madan continue to be with us. I want to ask you, Ashutosh Mishra ji, simple and straightforward. Ashok Gehlot ji's response to this entire failure of law and order in Rajasthan is that it is Modi's fault. I want to ask you, is Mr. Modi and is the BJP government expected to come to Rajasthan and arrest a man named in the FIR as Matloob Ahmed? Is the BJP expected to arrest a man who supports the Congress party and is a councillor in the area? Is the BJP expected to read the letters that are written to the Chief Minister of the state by the PFI stating that they are apprehensive of some communal clashes on that day? Is the BJP supposed to do that?
What JP is expected to do has been shown in results earlier also, in studies also, that it gains from riots. Why are there riots? Mostly in non-BJP ruled states where BJP is not in power, as Mr. Gehlot has rightly pointed out. But it is BJP which comes, lights up a fire and then tries to bake its political break. It happens every time, right under the nose of Amit Shah and Modi. There is
All
a
right.
gentleman
Even if I agree
to
with that,
take up
even if I agree with that argument, please tell me, why is Matloob Ahmad not arrested?
So Masroor Ahmad has been booked, and the government
72
going to
hours.
arrest him?
If any BJP government had not arrested and accused in a riot situation who is also a councillor and supports the Congress party, what would you have done?
So hasn't he been booked? And BJP should do exactly what Congress would have done in such a case. That's the role of the opposition. Why do you want to question Mr. Gehlot when Masroor has been
Is it
booked?
against the constitution to question a Congress chief minister, Mr. Gaurav Bhatia?
You didn't hear me. That's the right of the opposition. They should question that.
Well, Gaurav Bhatia, Matloob Ahmad absconding, councillor and absconding, we should not ask questions of Mr. Gehlot. Riots happen, the fact that there was a warning letter written to the Chief Minister of Rajasthan, we should not question, because it's actually the BJP which instigates riots in every non-BJP ruled states. Respond to Mr. Ashutosh Mishra.
So Navika, first of all, Ashok Gehlot should stop reading the Sonia Chalisa that he reads so well and should start reading the Constitution of India. Constitution of India makes it the responsibility of the state government under the 7th schedule to ensure that there is proper law and order. But look at the shamelessness of Ashok Gehlot. He comes out and he says, PM should address the nation. ये गलती तो बीजेपी की है जो आग लगा रहे हैं. I would only like to respond to him by saying, highest number of rapes in Rajasthan, 6,000 in 1 year. किसकी है ये जिम्मेदारी? अशोक गहलोत जी आपकी है. When lynching happens, even Muslims are lynched there, and Dalits as well as Hindus, किसकी जिम्मेदारी है? अशोक गहलोत जी आपकी. And look at the argument that has been given. बीजेपी रूल्ड स्टेट्स में कम्युनल राइट्स नहीं होते बिकॉज बीजेपी नहीं करवाती है. तो मैं ये पूछना चाहता हूं, मान लीजिए फॉर द सेक ऑफ आर्ग्यूमेंट आपका आर्ग्यूमेंट मान ले, अगर बीजेपी राइट्स कराती है तो आपकी पुलिस क्या कार्रवाई नहीं कर सकती है? यू कांट स्टॉप इट. दैट इज अ फेलियर, एन एडमिशन बाय यू दैट अशोक गहलोत हैज फेल्ड. और अगर सब कुछ हमें करना है तो आप कुर्सी खाली करिए. We will govern just the way we do in Uttar Pradesh. There are no communal rights. The state is progressing. My second point is, we need to understand PFI wrote a letter to Ashok Gehlot. How did PFI, Popular Front of India, come to know in advance on 1st of April that there would be communal rights? And if they knew, and Ashok Gehlot should have taken cognizance, he did not act, then again it is dereliction of duty. So Ashok Gehlot has failed again. And I would in the end say, Hindu New Year मना लो तो इन लोगों को दिक्कत हो जाती है, stone pelting होती है. The accused is a Muslim again. Why were the Hindus not protected? तिरंगा यात्रा निकाले तो चंदन गुप्ता मारा जाता है. Now we are seeing Hindu New Year नहीं बना सकते. What kind of a state is Rajasthan? I think the Congress again is indulging in appeasement politics, and this needs to be stopped immediately.
I want to ask you, Kapil Madan, simple and straightforward question. Whose job is it to maintain law and order? The fact is there are riots, the fact is there are rapes, the fact is there are just so many cases of atrocities and crime against women that come from Rajasthan. But no question is ever asked. And I want to ask you, when there is a councillor who's absconding and 72 hours after the incident of riots, the man cannot be brought to book, then what kind of law and order are we seeing in Rajasthan? Would this be an acceptable standard of law and order in any other state, especially a BJP ruled state? Or is it just okay to say everything is Modi's responsibility? Go ask him a question, we won't answer it. I think you're on mute.
I'm so sorry. Am I audible now, Navika ji?
Yes.
Yeah, Navika ji, so I would begin by saying here that admittedly law and order is a state subject and it is the Chief Minister's responsibility to ensure that there is proper law and order. Now look at what has happened here. Now you have rights, whatever the incident that has happened here, it's gruesome, should not have been happened, and you don't see any Congress or any leader siding with any of the person who has done or has played any part in the commission of the act. Now you have a situation here where the accused is named in the FIR. There is no attempt. There is no attempt to stifle the investigation, and the accused has been booked. So please don't say that they have not been booked. Now I'll give you another example. You have similar situations in Delhi where Kapil Mishra openly was giving
Ashish Mishra was also booked. Ashish Mishra was booked. But you paid for the blood of the UP government when Ashish Mishra was booked. You know, why did you pay for his blood? Why did you pay for his blood? Today, on Matloob Ahmed, you have no answer to give. Ishkaran Bhandari, are these complete double standards that we are hearing from the Congress party and their defenders today?
You may call it a double standard. You don't register an FIR against your own minister, and you can call us that we are double standard. I mean, if you really want to ask the question who is double standard, you should actually ask the BJP.
Respond, Ishkaran.
Let me just. Navika ji, firstly, let me begin by paying my respects to Constable Nitresh Sharma, because we attack police very often, but how he risked his own life to save an infant, that is policing at its best. But what happened?
And can we have that picture of that constable? And I want to make a point. That constable, possibly a 12th passed constable who saved a child from the arson.
Yes.
And if I can ask my director to use that picture on screen. He walked away, saved the life of a child.
Yes.
So we salute him.
Yes. Navika ji, that is policing at its best. But what we saw was governance at its worst,
where a law and order problem is also blamed at the Prime Minister. And if tomorrow, supposing, even though under law the Prime Minister cannot take over law and order, but supposing he was to do, the first thing would be said is fascism, democracy under danger. This is a state subject in a part of Rajasthan. The prevention, the intelligence inputs to prevent it, the letters to prevent it, and the policing action to prevent it had to be taken. And once that was not done and this incident happened, everybody had to be arrested and ensured that it doesn't happen again. But what we are saying here is blame game instead of accepting responsibility, instead of improving the situation. And that is the sad reality.
Well, that's the picture. That's the picture of that policeman carrying a child, taking her out of that arson situation. So the police is doing its job. If Matloob Ahmed is absconding, who's responsible, Ashutosh ji?
So the police is on lookout for that, for him. The point here is there is a word used, minority appeasement. Now, minority appeasement is an oxymoron in a democracy where the party which has the support of the majority enjoys power. I mean, it is a ploy which has been successfully used by the Sangh Parivar over the years to rupture the secular fabric of India.
What is secular about stoning? What is secular about stoning a Hindu procession? What is secular about raising religious slogans at the Gorakhnath Mutt? Please tell me what is secular about it. Why is secularism such an abused terminology today in India? Just because there are certain political parties who think that secularism certification is their right alone.
So it is because it is the jugulbandi of parties like PFI and BJP which want to malign the Congress party and similar other.
You lift up the ban on the PFI in Jharkhand. The Congress lifts the ban on the PFI in Jharkhand. You, with their political outfit STPI, have all sorts of arrangements electorally. Yet the problem is Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Har cheez is his problem. Well, is that an explanation that this country has to take from everybody who is in the opposition. If anything goes wrong, it's because it's Modi's fault. It's the BJP's fault. I want to ask you, a riot in Rajasthan with forewarning written in a letter to the Chief Minister by the PFI is the BJP's fault. The fact that a councillor is absconding 72 hours after that riot takes place, again, is the BJP's fault. The question really is that if everything is the BJP's fault, then why is Mr. Gehlot the Chief Minister of Rajasthan? It's a question he needs to answer. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me on the NewsHour tonight.